It's 6 o'clock, got a meeting ordered. Motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second. Fair say aye. Say no, agenda is approved. Go through the consent items. Questions? Action. Consent. Everybody's had a chance to look through them. Is there any questions? Take a motion to approve the consent items.
Move to approve the consent items. A second.
Fair say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Consent items are approved. Got some correspondence and recognition.
Yeah, a couple groups are recognized with Teacher Appreciation Week this month, at the beginning of the month, so they had something different each day. The district did a couple things for them and had some community groups pitch in and do some things. They had coffee a couple different days. What were some of the other things?
Oh, man.
We gave them a late start.
Late start,
Yeah.
taco truck,
Yeah.
coffee, so
Those are different days. Supply table.
yeah, supply table in here, a couple different drink days, so.
Yep.
Want to obviously recognize teachers for the work they do on a daily basis with our students, and then this group as well, it's board recognition month. So I know this is a fairly thankless job. I know the pay is not bad. You know, obviously the work that you guys do, a lot of times I'm seeing, we've tackled some big topics in just the 12 months I've been here. You know, moving through the 4-day week, and I'm extremely appreciative of the support from this group, and want to recognize you guys and tell you how much I appreciate your support as we kind of move through a lot of these things collectively.
Good job, everybody. No public forum today, it looks like.
technically.
Oh, yes, sorry, actually, yeah, sorry.
That's okay.
I forgot, sorry.
No, I didn't realize the 24 hours, that was my bad, but the focus group documentation got compiled and put together, and essentially there's all but segmented by the different groups. It's kind of easy to just look at it raw, but essentially it's just here are all the areas where the focus groups Extra does a good job. Here are the areas that they think that there are issues and what they would ultimately like to see done, and then they score that across the different focus group categories. And I'm a community member here to just ask, as I go into the meeting where we start to talk about what are the projects we want to prioritize, what does the school find to be the most important from the focus group? Not surprising, but the biggest concern is traffic, parking, just it's honestly a dangerous situation around here, and we try different things, and I think just as a community member and as part of the board, trying to figure out how can we make it safer to get kids in and out of the school and to their activities. So, I don't know if there's any questions or thoughts about that, but I just put together some ideas of how we would, like, what I think could be proposed.
So with this or through this grant, that they will come in and kind of tell us this is what you could do.
So we can pick, like what the project areas are, and then they have architects and they have resources like the Department of Transportation where they can get work done, survey, they can create mock-ups, they'll create, essentially they give you the tools that you would need in order to go out and apply for grants to get the work actually done, which is surprising how much that goes into that. But so anything we were to say, hey, this is a great idea, it's not committing anybody to doing the project, and it's not to say that it's the final project. It's just, let's put this out there and try and follow up on it to get some ideas of how we could get it done and what it might cost. Because that's another thing they'll do is itemize like estimates of what you need.
Is there another meeting? Did I see somewhere they're having another meeting, kind of like the last one? They have different groups, or is that?
You're right. So they took the boards and they brought them out just so people could see them initially. Once we get through the next couple of phases of this project, they'll have additional project mock-ups and boards, my understanding, and we'll have those available at fun days. Like Maxwell did it at their farmers market, and they had a really good turnout, so we're trying to be better than more people come and comment. But essentially, you lay out your thoughts, and then people can kind of vote and make their commentary. So that's what we're really preparing for here, is what do we want to put out to the community to get their feedback on. And if we as a school have priorities that we can benefit from utilizing this grant, let's pick and choose what we consider.
Only thing I'm not, it seems like the Station Street, when we moved the playground south and we looked at all the options, that's like designated a farm to market route and a truck route. And that, I don't know if it's the county or Iowa DOT or whatever, they got some kind of regulations on like stop signs and crosswalks and that kind of stuff that you can put on those. So just something that your group might want to check into before they get too far on to doing something, if that's even a possibility.
And that's exactly what I'm expecting that they will help us with.
Yeah.
Because they've already had one conversation, I wasn't a part of it, like, we want to understand what we can do for F-17 and the bike trail crossing there, the fact that it's a little dangerous there, what are our options, because we don't have control over that, so it'd be the similar situation, what are we allowed to do? But like somebody brought up, at least putting a four-way stop on the south side of the school, because right now there isn't a four-way stop. That could help slow things down and help all the chaos, kids running this way and that. I personally think trying to get all of the traffic on one side of the school primarily would be much better than having all of the kids that are just learning how to drive on one side of the school that's not monitored. So, I mean, those are just some of the different thoughts that are put out there. Recommendations, if there's concerns with what direction we're going in terms of requesting a sidewalk, a large sidewalk out to the complex. Constantly have kids going out there, track and football, and they're on the road, they have to be on the road. Trying to figure out some of those things.
I think that's a big one there, but again, they're on a truck route, walking on a truck route, farm to market route, so.
And
You think you
they're in
could
the whole
justify a
so they're
sidewalk.
not paying attention.
Yeah,
They're just.
and I like and we kind of looked at it before, putting the parking lot down
I
south there too for high schoolers, so.
know it's been brought up multiple times by multiple boards. I don't know if there was reasons that it wasn't pursued.
There
Clearly
are.
pursued.
There are, it's because it's our geothermal lines or holding tanks, whatever you call them, are down there.
They're not that far, they're more under the playground,
I think they're further south.
really.
When they went, because when we were doing our project and we were gonna try that was gonna be our first option. Story Construction did some investigating and found the original blueprints. So there was further, it is some under the playground, but there's still some that's further down, further south.
Okay.
Which you could use that for parking, I mean, you won't want to build a building over it,
Yeah.
but it's just like a playground, you have to realize if you got a problem, you're gonna tear up a parking lot or the playground or whatever to fix it, but it's not like you're putting a building over it, so.
But I've noticed several times when I've come, when it's closer to 8, that this parking lot isn't full. And we still have high schoolers parking 2 blocks away on the street, I mean, I feel like we probably need to utilize our parking. Maybe we still need more, I don't know, but we aren't utilizing what we do have.
Yeah, I'm not saying that we need more parking. I mean, I think that would be good for events and stuff, so they can use it, but more so the fact that all of
The flow.
the flow of traffic
Yep.
and drop offs and chaos that happens back there.
So we've been discussing maybe a change. We're just not sure about how to go about it. So do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, when we moved the sign over to the north side of the building, just looking at that and seeing if that could be an area where that could be the pull-in spot to go drop off elementary kids. It's already happening, whether or not you want it to or not, right? They're stopping in the middle of the road and they're dropping off even after it's not asking not to and go to the south side. But just trying to have a designated area that is a little bit safer and actually looks like a pull-in spot. Like right now in the south, you're just rolling through a parking spot, so it's not quite designated. Although we've tried to put some signage and help that situation. It's just less than an ideal right now in its current state. So trying to look at it, something that is maybe more feel like a pull-in spot as far as for drop off, and then having that one designated spot. It's the same problem we have even with events. What entrance are people using when they come to Baxter? And knowing that that's an activity entrance, but the parking's not there. So then they're coming in from the high school entrance, and it's just, it's an issue that is all encompassing for events and for school. And so I don't know the best answer, but it's certainly something to look into. But then you bring up the point too, now we're gonna drop off our elementary kids where that's the busiest street in the morning too. So you, and correct. So you can see both sides of everything. So I think it's just for the group to kind of really look through all the options and say what truly is best long term for that drop off spot.
With the knowledge that, we'll have an SRO whose one of the priorities will be to handle traffic
Yes.
prior to school and after school.
That's what I'm most excited about.
If you did put a parking lot down there, that would alleviate, I mean. I would assume the entrance would be off Davenport Street, so you'd keep all that traffic, high schoolers off of these 2 streets,
Correct.
actually. So
Your foot traffic would all be coming from one direction.
from the south, you know,
Where we already have a designated crosswalk.
Exactly.
and we got a sidewalk down that goes basically all the way around that
Yes.
area.
So like I said, I knew it had been brought up and posed many a times. If we can just, if we still think that it's a valid option, a valid thought.
Yeah, I don't
Somebody
know.
else.
I don't know anything about geothermal, so I don't know why you can't build on top of it. I don't know. I mean, we've never had to dig.
Well, you don't have to build a building on top of it, but
You just put gravel parking on it, they're not even excavating
right.
the ground then, you know, level it off, but gravel.
You can do low cost.
Right.
Intermediary options, just like,
Okay, we got out the sports complex, you know, we got recycled asphalt.
Buildings or something, yeah. Just a nice green space, I like that part of it down there, in fun days, you know, it's.
It gets utilized too, right? Not recessing and think about the other issues that come alongside with.
Yeah, you gotta keep
Pre-K
kids out of the
through.
cars,
No.
and, you know.
Yeah, no defense.
I'm just trying to think
Away from
both
that
ways.
Area,
Yes.
those types of things that come with additional.
Put up a fence.
That's all things, so if they move forward with this, that's all things that they could propose in that through their study, right?
that's what we would
Yeah.
look to have assistance with is. It's professionals to weigh in on it.
Yeah, assuming you wanna, well, like we had to put a fence by the shop parking there because. People driving out and a bunch of kids and stuff, so it probably have to be the same down there. Barricaded off. Yeah, I mean. All options are on the table, I would say, because
Okay,
plenty of. Are there? When is the next, you say fun days are coming back?
so, I mean, that's the next time the community will weigh in on it. We have meetings and. Basically do the. Next feedback.
I had an email, I don't know where it was, the updated.
Well, and like on one of those pictures, it said like right out here was on the street was an improper grade. So, I mean, that's city, right?
Oh, yeah, like there's lots of stuff in here that have nothing to do with school, and I think part of that grading stuff was like. City folks have to grade it, do like snow removal, for example. You can't because it's too steep.
Because of the improper grade.
Yeah, like that kind of stuff, that's not.
I'd be thrilled if they just filled potholes.
Lots of things that I like to do.
That's, there's all these ideas, but we still have to actually.
That would be a lot of really good ideas, yeah.
Okay, well, if anybody thinks of anything, just ask if we need it for the school or send them our way so we can. Consider it.
Longer than 3 minutes.
I promise I'll never take part in a vote for him again.
Okay. The principal's reports.
Yeah, I'll start. So we did, we are gonna offer some summer tutoring again this summer. We have teachers that are gonna run that again, and we've identified 6 students that are gonna come in for that time. Really comes down to, the teachers that are willing to be able to do it. And so we have a teacher that's gonna do it and work with 6 students over the summer, which is gonna be great. We're really trying to identify our youngest learners, so kindergarten through 2nd grade, and that's kind of where we're at with those students. So hopefully that additional time during the summer will probably be alleviate some of that summer slide. So thank you to Cheryl Russell, who will be doing that summer tutoring with those kids. Also want to give kudos to the senior extra interviews. I gotta sit in a couple, and they were, again, it's one of the better things I think that we do, and just showcasing some of the things that they've learned throughout their career here, not only in academics, but also athletics and other activities. So it's just a great venture that I really appreciate. Kudos again to the PTO for that teacher appreciation. We did to take a big part in that and undertaking of what they were offering for our teachers. So wanted to make sure I give them a shout out. We had our spring concert over the last week, another great event for Miss B and everybody else as far as elementary goes. She does a great job. It was a little warm in there, but it was nonetheless, it was a great event. Field day just happened last Friday. Coach Herm and Coach Stroud did a great job with the work of Amanda as well to really coordinate that field day and make it feel like a great event. A lot of our families come out to that event, which I always appreciate, just showing a partnership between us and having them be there to see our kids, compete, but also have some fun out there. Third grade had pen pals come in yesterday, so they've been working and writing pen pals over the last year. And then they got to meet their pen pal yesterday in the East Gym and play board games with them, and just a great partnership for that. I know the kids enjoyed it. The teachers thought it was fantastic, and it's just great to see that partnership, but also tying in some academics alongside with it. So another great venture, the partnership that we have with that. And then the last thing I have is just our fast data from the last screening cycle. In math, we were 83% proficient, which was the highest we've had in our last 6 years we've kept data. And then in reading, we're at 68%, which was a little lower from the winter. So now it's just our task to kind of look and see what are the things that we need to do as we move forward from that winter screening to the spring screening to make sure that the number rises or stays consistent as opposed to dropping. So some great conversations that'll come from that data, and we'll continue to find ways to improve. So.
Secondary end, just spring activities are complete now. Or I guess we'll kind of culminate here at the end of this week with the state track meet, but orientation nights for 6th and 9th graders, incoming 6th and 9th graders are complete. Those went pretty well again. I felt senior exit interviews was a couple nights here a few weeks ago. I sat in on multiple, got a lot of great feedback from students and families on those, the ones that I sat in on. As I just mentioned, the spring fling, which is kind of the middle school trip that they went to Ames with the staff. Mr. D kind of coordinated that, got a lot of great feedback, and it seems like the kids had a really great time. Senior trip, we actually took that to West Des Moines last week as well, as part of the last week activities for seniors that graduated. We do have 14 events being represented by Baxter athletes in both the girls and boys combined with the state track meet at the end of this week, which is, I felt like that's really outstanding for a school our size, and our boys did win the district qualifying meet as a team the other night, which is a huge accomplishment as well. Boys and girls golf each had one participant advance to the next round. I don't even know how they word it. It's districts and then regionals or regionals. Anyway, they advanced to the next round, so that's a major accomplishment for those individuals. We did graduate 37 seniors in person, 38 total. One decided not to participate in the ceremony on Sunday. Appreciate Mr. Peterson and Corey helping with diplomas and speeches and that kind of thing. Thought that went pretty well on Sunday. Let's see here. June, some summer reading kind of coming your guys' way. I just want to give you some heads up, got some things coming. I'm going to be making some adjustments to, with Mr. Vaughn departing, some mentoring needs for new teachers, for secondary teachers and supports for them. So I'm going to be kind of like bringing some feedback or some theory and philosophy to you guys, policies, I guess, just so you're kind of aware of what's going on. And then I'll also be bringing in June the alternative pathways to graduation handbooks. Those will be done, so you can kind of see those will be for both the alternative opportunities for students and then also the work experience side. And then in July, we'll be bringing student handbooks, which are going to be undergoing a lot of revisions. And I'll write a summary to those as well, so you can see that as well as the actual handbook itself. And then just our SRG handbook. I'm actually going to go to a conference with a couple teachers, just a one-day deal in Cedar Falls. It's a Monday in June, about the middle of June, just to kind of get some more insight, get some more, a little deeper understanding, put some more parameters in place just to tighten up our SRG handbook that, some of those things haven't been revisited in a few years. So hate to bring a lot of reading to you in the summertime, but it's going to be happening just so they can all be approved by the time next school year rolls around. So just give me some feedback on that. Thank you.
Thank you.
The 2080 agreements.
We have a number of these, as you can see. Some we generate operational sharing incentive for, some we do not. But we still generate income from. Greg is a shared librarian, here, Nevada, Colfax, Mingo, and PCM. So we do generate some income from that. We've got a transportation director, we're continuing that sharing agreement with Nevada. And then we will have 3 with GMG, superintendent, maintenance director, and then HR is one that we have added this year as well. That brings our total, if you add the SRO, they increased our limit to 25, we will be at 23. 23 roughly, what does it generate? Probably about $183,000. I think per pupil funding next year will be 7980. So roughly in that ballpark, it's gonna generate 183. What do we spend for all of those things? What's our transportation? 25. About 160. So we get basically, you get all of those things plus $25,000.
Have they actually approved, have they signed the?
She finally signed it.
Did they
She
do
must have
that?
had a carpal tunnel for a while and now she got back to
What's it
the
say?
end. Yep,
That's all done.
Is it 2?
it's 2. Everything has been signed, yeah. Any questions on the operational sharing or any of those?
Nevada holds.
Nevada holds the contract for transportation director and GMG holds the contract for maintenance. And then we hold the other 3. 2 on here in the SRO. Well, no, we don't hold the SRO technically, right? The county does.
Right. Bill.
So the county technically holds the SRO and they bill us, sorry.
I'll make a motion to approve the 2080 agreements as presented.
Say aye.
Aye.
2080 agreements are approved. Gas and diesel bids.
So we received 2 bids, one from New Century and then one from Key. Key got the bid last year and has installed new tanks down there.
You know what our percentage use gas and diesel is? I mean, do we use more diesel than gas? I
Yeah.
would assume. Well, the gas bid, I mean, it's a penny difference between the 2. The diesel bids quite a bit in favor of Eco. Has our service been good from Key?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're having issues with them.
We had some pump issues, but
So of course, though, determining the,
we don't think it's key. We think it's.
well, we don't know, yeah, we're not 100% sure, but they've been very responsive when we have called them
Oh,
on
yeah,
to,
yeah,
and they've
yeah.
replaced the pump one, so, yeah, we haven't had any issues.
I'd make a motion to award the gas and diesel bids to Key Co-op for the upcoming year.
All in favor for Key Co-op? Against say aye.
Aye.
Co-op, the gas and diesel provider. Bread and milk, so we'll look at bread bids first.
She's recommending that we stay with Panago, which is. We were with
That's
Bimbo,
better.
we were with Bimbo for years and years and years, and then all of a sudden, their regions changed, and so it looks like they didn't even did it.
Do you want these individually or together?
Milk and the bread,
Yeah.
they have them separate.
Yeah,
Do
I
it.
do a bread and then
Yeah.
also.
And it doesn't sound like they're. Fire, they have any fresh. Up in the air, it's like. Fresh bread.
That's fine, yeah. They've had good service with them this year, so.
Yeah, I mean, I'd make a motion to approve Hano Gold as our bread provider for 25-26.
Say. City. Book. Have been approved. Paid Google. Okay.
Bid. We have an escalator, we have firm. We kind of varied back and forth the last couple of years, if you remember, but I think she asked, she recommends the firm bid this time. Which I would agree wholeheartedly, we just don't know.
Very quick, sorry.
That's what it- Yeah.
You want one that gave that?
Yeah.
No.
We can even provide a firm.
And AEs who we use this year.
Yeah, we've had AE forever, even in instances where they may fall maybe a little bit higher in cottage cheese or chocolate milk or whatever. We still have, for the most part, went with AE.
I remember quite a few years back, we had a year that we didn't, and
We didn't, and
the
I
milk
thought we were
consumption
gonna
went
have a-
down, and we had about.
I thought we were gonna have an uprising. Remember we went to those bottles, they had we went to the bottles because cheaper and it
For
was Highland.
yeah.
That was not good. So they provide our coolers and everything, and they're really responsive if we have issues with um, breakdowns or things like that. What's really nice is the AE, if you have any extra left over at the end of the year, AE will take it back and refund you what you didn't use, where Highland doesn't necessarily always do that, so.
The escalator, we could go up. So that kind of how that. If whatever the price of milk is.
Yeah, it's
they can
not
charge
gonna
you.
go lower, but whatever the market calls for is what you're gonna get, so. There, a few years back, we did go with the escalator because it was falling. And so we felt pretty confident with that, and the firm bid was a little too, high for the difference,
There's a-
so, but
Fair difference there, just.
yeah. But you just don't know what it's gonna do in the next 2 months, 3 months, 4 months. 9 months or whatever.
That much more chocolate milk.
You had any chocolate milk?
Let's get it.
It's medicinal, man.
It is. I mean, I can drink anything you want.
Good chocolate.
Do we have to approve which, like, if we go with AE, do we have to then approve for the firm price for the escalator?
Yeah.
Okay. What was recommended? You want the firm? Yeah.
Then we can budget it,
Yeah.
better,
yeah.
and it's not quite as volatile.
Yeah, I was just waiting, you know, maybe, I'll make a motion to approve the supplier A Dairy, the firm price.
Second.
Great, all those in favor say aye.
Uh,
You from the milk bid. Student fees.
Students, thank you.
I know we've had some discussion over this, and we brought it up last meeting a little bit. Julie dug in and so did I, and we found some neighboring registration fees and kind of averaged them out. Really kind of fell in line from an average standpoint if we went with the $15 raise. It seems to be maybe most appropriate right now, not to say that we're not having the conversation again next year about something different. But it seems to fall in line with the average. There's quite a discrepancy depending on what school you want to look at. I mean, you can look at GMG and we're 115, and you can find a school like Colonesco that's a 50, right? So, I think 15 is kind of where we were recommending falling, and then adding the student activity pass as a part of that as well. But, certainly open to review and discussion.
I don't love the idea of the fee for the K through 5. I don't think we would utilize the activity pass as much. And just with some of the other changes, what I'm proposing is that maybe the increase for the 6 through 12 and include the activity pass, but don't do it for kindergarten.
Don't include the pass.
Don't include the increase.
So the elementary, there wouldn't be an activity, they'd have to purchase an activity pass separate then.
For the line one.
If it,
And the fee would stay at 50, I think is what she said.
or make it optional. A $15 add-on with activity pass for them.
I think we should run the numbers then. Because I'm not sure that we would be able to
Yeah, I mean,
sustain.
I wouldn't specifically state the $15 is directly for the activity pass. Because initially, if we just don't even want to put the activity pass on there, we can. And raise fees and still be in line with the other districts. Is what I'm saying. Comparatively speaking, we're low, is my point. We could remove the activity pass completely. Raise fees $15, and we would still be in line from an average standpoint with other districts.
And that's an activity pass for any volleyball, basketball, football, whatever.
I mean,
What's an activity pass cost now?
60.
and I mean, if we're raising it $15 and it's $5 to get in,
That's what I was just gonna say.
you just,
You've gone to three,
if you go 3 times.
you've gotten 3 events.
Right.
Yeah.
If you have, let's say you have 3 kids, we've increased it $15 for the pass, that's $45, that's still cheaper than buying an activity pass outright.
Right.
And then, so if we tag on the activity pass, it'd be students or for the student only. Not the
Correct.
parent pass.
That's correct.
Right.
I would recommend, if you don't want to even mess with the activity pass, it wouldn't change my recommendation on the fee increase. That's what I'm trying to say.
So this is kind of a bonus.
It's like great.
The activity, no bonus.
Yeah, yes,
It's hard to say, but maybe would more kids show up? I don't know. If they already had a pass. I don't know. It's good to have kids in the stands that,
Run around.
well.
Full concessions.
Yeah, good concessions. Yeah.
When was the last time we raised her? It seems to me like it's been a long time.
It has been a long time.
your discussions at GMG, Chris, is there any pushback? They're obviously on this list, the highest, it looks like. Is there, do you hear anything
No,
negative around that?
no, and we just did the activity, we added the activity pass last year and we did get a lot of positive feedback on that. I think we increased, that we might have even increased our fees last year, $10, I think is what we did. And then we included the activity pass. I don't want it to seem like we're raising fees $15 for an activity pass. I kind of want to, we need to separate those things, that's fine, but it's, we raise the fees $10, we were gonna raise the fees $10 no matter what. But we just said, you know, this might be something of benefit is to have an activity pass included in your registration fee now as part of it. Or you get it with it, maybe is a better way to say it.
Just out of curiosity, do we have to give the kids a pass in this situation? I mean, if it's a blanket, like, give every kid an activity pass, can we just say students come to all activities free?
That's what we would do.
Just,
That's
there
what
wouldn't
we
be a
would do.
pass. It
Right.
would be-
That-
Right.
yes,
I'm just
exactly.
sitting there thinking.
Yeah, because
We had that conversation too, like how.
maybe an operation, like, okay, is this a bigger headache for Angie
Yeah.
or what, you know, so then you just know if they go to school here, they're,
It's included within their registration.
Yeah.
well, you'd like to think that the teachers would know if they're,
Yeah.
if those
I would-
people at
Most of
school.
them probably would, but maybe not.
In 17-18, we raised 612 from 55 to 60. Elementary stayed the same, and it was at 50 then. Before that was in 17-18.
That was 8 years ago.
What are these dollars, what are they used for as far as registration?
In 16-17, we increased it by $5.
Curriculum, a lot of times curriculum,
Yeah, so generally,
which we're gonna have an increased need for, just so you are aware. I don't know if you wanna say hatching, I don't know how you wanna say the science curriculum. We're experimenting with it. Is that how you'd like to word it?
Sure.
Utilizing what we view as probably a temporary curriculum this year to see, and then.
Correct.
With the understanding of sometime in the next few years, we're probably gonna need to purchase a dedicated science curriculum.
Correct. It's one that's lacking right now, explicit instruction, so it's something that, you know, we haven't really been implementing with complete fidelity, just because we've been kind of focused on math and reading, but knowing that that's gotta be a staple going forward. Our plan is to implement with fidelity over the next year and then look at other resources going forward.
And teaching science on a daily basis.
Correct. Correct.
so in theory, you're supposed to be using all of your registration fees on curriculum.
Which we'll be using that and more. A lot.
Yes. This is gonna be expensive, but.
So it was really 15-16 that we did across the increase, and it was by $5.
You can explore different, if we don't feel comfortable with 15, we can explore a different dollar amount, including activity pass, not,
But
I mean, it's pretty open.
it's a safe assumption that curriculum cost is just gonna continue. So even if we sit here right now and say, okay, maybe we just go 5 this time, we could be having the same discussion next year and the year after that, and the year after that.
We should have probably went
Yeah.
with 5 like 6 years ago, and another
Yeah.
5 3 years ago,
Yeah.
and 5 now.
Because
Now we're just trying to catch
now it's
up.
catch up mode, yeah.
I'd make a motion to approve the registration fees as presented with the activity pass included.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
I agree with you guys. I'm just out of pure curiosity. Is this like the lunches and things where if a family
Yes.
help, they can apply to
Yes.
get money?
Yeah.
Yeah, if they
There,
are,
if they qualify for like free lunch, there is no registration fee.
Got it, okay.
or even
Just wondering,
reduced, it's
yeah.
a
It's a
discount.
discounted on reduced, yeah.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Say no. Get the increased registration fee has been approved. Quick board policy.
Yeah, just have to change with our move to a 4-day week. Or school day for licensed personnel, so if we change those things, we gotta change our policy.
That was start time, end time.
Yeah.
Time.
Yep.
And so we can actually. We can. Make a motion to approve the board policy as updated and to wait the second reading.
There's gotta be more policies with daily, or is that just all in the book contract?
It's.
Yeah, most of it was master contract.
There's a lot, like you said, in the student handbook, and there's other policies that
Yeah.
reference the day.
So we have a motion to approve new time policy and waive the second reading.
Second.
Say aye.
Aye.
Say no. C 451 has been approved. Next one.
We got 5 for them for kindergarten. How many currently attend pre-K here? Zach, 2 right now, but the other 2 that we have, they have older siblings here, right?
Correct.
So all of the 4 kindergartners were accounted for in the roundup, right?
Yes.
And then a 7th grade move, moving into the new district and wanting to open enrollment here.
Motion to approve the open enrollment.
Second.
Favor say aye.
Uh,
Say no. Open enrollment's approved. There you go.
I'm gonna just be brief and not get too worked up on this one. One of the things we've looked into is possibly looking into a different controls provider. So attached there is a quote or proposal from Woodman's on what it would cost us initially to move over to them. We're also waiting on premium from our preventative maintenance to add HVAC, what that would cost and what the benefits would be of that. So this is really just for informational purposes right now. I do have experience in working with Woodman's. What I've seen or noticed so far between the 2 districts and the controls providers is what we're billed for the service we get. I'm not sure it's at the same level. Yeah, so what I would leave that as. This would be to basically, how this would work is this is their kind of upfront cost. They would kind of work through their systems, but it would feed into Woodman's. And then over time, as you have to replace systems, as you would do through preventative maintenance, they would come in and they would be putting their equipment in at that time. Just for information right now, I mean, we're still gonna wait to see what we get back on our equipment breakdown and what the costs are associated with that through HVAC.
The good thing about that is it shifts from maybe Save or Pebble to management.
Which is a good thing right now.
Depends on what they're
Depends on
gonna
what
do
they
with the
do.
management fund.
Yeah, part of the property tax reform bill that didn't go anywhere, this last session was to cap management levy as well, so it's something we're gonna have to keep an eye on. And that'll be something that we'll have to keep an eye on too, if we talk about the storm protection fund, because that we can fund it. So, any questions?
So obviously they've already came and looked through
Yep.
through everything.
Yep, they came, they looked through everything and they were able to kind of provide an initial package. Which about 2 visits.
Away from that.
Our service has been pretty intermittent with Johnson. Just dealing with issues on, they said they're gonna be here Friday and nobody shows up on Friday, they show up on a Monday. They're here, they never really check out with anyone, we're not sure what they did, and no issues have been alleviated, so it's been a little bit frustrating. Because you can probably ask those two guys if we've had HVAC issues throughout the year. And we certainly have. Now, some of it is, I'm saying that if we switch to another provider, that's gonna be the cure-all, no. You know, a lot of it, when you're working with these systems anymore with fresh air that has to come in through dampers and things like that, you're gonna have issues. And you're gonna have fluctuations at times, so. I think really what we need to look at is service and price. So. We'll provide more info when we have it, but that's just put it on your radar as something that we're exploring at least.
Oh, you've got Woodman's up there. How long have they had them up there? Or is it?
About a year, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did they have prior
systems?
Was it?
I don't know. I'm not sure. It was probably 2 months before I started up there, maybe in January, or February, if they switched over.
Okay.
They came in, kind of did the same thing, gave us a, hey, here's what you need to switch it over. Then from there, they developed a list. Preventative maintenance in general had kind of fallen by the wayside up there. So what they really hadn't done is developed, here's the list of fixes you have, right? So let's say the list was $65,000. Well, we could kind of go through and prioritize and budget when we did each of those from the HVAC side of things. So I had my maintenance guy up there. He hasn't had any complaints with them. They've been pretty good to work with. I haven't seen any outrageous bills or anything, and anything we know that's going to be fairly substantial. If there's a discussion up front, do you want us to do this?
Which we kind of, as part of our building project, when we had some of the older part, we did do some, because there was a lot of deferred maintenance on some of that, and we did kind of, not that it was all up to 100%, but I think we addressed the worst part of it, so.
And yeah, I mean, part of it too, that I find frustrating as well is we're not dealing with older equipment. Why are we having the issues we have, and why are they not being alleviated when we call you in and pay you labor?
Right. I mean, yeah, that. Julie can attest probably Corey was on the board, but. I was insane with Johnson Controls because their van would be out here 3 days a week, and we're spending $70,000 a year on them, and it wasn't right yet. So
The one comment when I asked because my maintenance director obviously works tighter with Woodlands than I do, right? I'm pretty much just approving the fixes and going through things. The one comment that he made is what he's most impressed with them is if you call them with an issue, they'll walk you through the issue rather than sending a tech out and billing you at $300 or $400 an hour. So they kind of give you, he's been impressed with the way they've shown him how to work the systems, and if he has an issue, walk him through it instead of sending somebody out.
Yeah, what I find, when we're going through the invoices with Johnson Controls is they'll send out one person. That person either doesn't know the system or doesn't know quite what to look at, so then they call back and they bring a second person. Now we're paying for two people to stand here and look at each other. And I mean, just when I see the van, I just cringe because I just know what that bill's gonna be, and
There's that deal.
Woodman's. Yeah, that's Jason Kem's the one I really like, is where he's stationed at, in Austin or so fairly local.
I have the feeling that Marshalltown's was
They
Woodland as well.
Yeah, because I was gonna second what you were saying. I actually use Woodman's for. I use them as well, and their services. I don't have anything to compare them to,
Sure.
but I would second their service is outstanding, and that's exactly what you were just saying, is that if they can help you over the phone with their service guys, they'll do it, and if it's not urgent, they'll plan it so that they don't charge you an extra trip. They'll charge you, like they'll stop in after or before, a trip to, say they're going GMG and Baxter just needs something. They'll stop in on the way.
That's the thing. They'll come out, they'll troubleshoot it, and then say, oh, well, we need a part. Okay, well, now it's another trip because they charge us a fuel surcharge, they charge us a disposal fee, and they charge us. There's a third fee on there, yeah.
Yeah.
Whether they have to dispose of anything or not, they're still charging it. So I'm fighting with them every month. I'm not paying that because you didn't dispose of anything. Yeah, and then hazardous materials, and I mean, they just feed you to death.
Like I said, no action tonight, it's just information.
Appreciate you getting that information.
A few things from my report. We met with the boosters here last week. So one of the things for next, again, this is just discussion, just bring to your attention, what they're looking at doing is a fundraiser for the football field. They're wanting to put up a new scoreboard and sound system. Total cost between the board, the sound system and so it would be about $200,000. One of the things that I just mentioned to them, as I said, well, when it's when you put it on the agenda, just kind of approve it, run the fundraiser is. I just wanted to know if you guys would like Booster Club rep to present or how you feel about that. I felt they were very organized in the presentation they gave me and were able to answer all my questions. One of the things I asked about was, well, what about maintenance? And so they had a plan in there to kind of continue to have a slush fund or whatever you call it, or work in maintenance that might be associated with those things.
Gonna be similar to what we have now, I assume. Scoreboard,
No,
like a jumbotron.
like a video board.
Stupid, I'm gonna kick in some for it.
Great flows in the west end of
Cut down the wind.
True.
Thoughts, questions, would you like me to reach out and have a member here?
You're happy, I'm happy.
I guess I wouldn't mind having
Yeah,
a discussion with
other
them.
than needed.
It's a lot of money, it seems like to me, but. And I'm not, if they're gonna fundraise for it, I guess I don't have a problem with it, but I guess I'd like a little,
We wouldn't be doing this, let me tell you.
no, but I. Just let them talk me into
Sure.
feeling more comfortable with it, I guess, and kind of,
Is there
where I'm
anything
at.
between what we have and?
yeah.
I think it's great if they're willing to put in the effort to go out and do fundraising. I would love to have that facility.
Are we in need of, I mean, do we need a new scoreboard out there? Okay, I
So
didn't,
that I know.
Yeah.
It is a problem.
Scoreboard is a need, I think, and I think they're looking at this from both a football and track
Yeah.
standpoint, is my understanding.
Yeah.
Football and track both, and the sound system. I think the sound system was $50,000 of the cost.
Sound system. 99. No sound system went in, I was a senior.
I wasn't alive yet.
99.
Mhm.
So I guess, would you like me to reach out and see if they'd be willing to just present? I mean, they're
Yeah,
very well organized, they have mock-ups and everything, so, I kind of mentioned to them and asked them if they'd be willing, and they seem very open to it, or at least sending a representative.
I'm good with it.
Appreciate all they're doing. I think it's just that, just like a huge undertaking.
yeah, that'd be great.
So if they're,
I would say.
if they want to talk to it.
I'd say just
Seen Friday Night Lights?
say that.
Oh,
What could go wrong with it as far as 10 years down the road or whatever, what that might be.
Yeah,
Had
I mean,
discussions with the rep.
again, we're having discussions with this Booster Club board. So it's a great point. And what I think we have to understand is at the end of the day, it's going to be ours to take care of, right? So this Booster Club board is on board and they've been very proactive in raising funds. I think they are doing well. But that's not to say, like you talk about 7 years from now, what if you have a different Booster Club board, they're like, that's yours, you guys figure it out, you know what I'm saying? That's certainly a concern. So whether it may be something where we'd like to see something in writing, I don't know, you know what I mean? Just to ensure that the maintenance of it or what could go wrong doesn't end up falling on just the district.
Or at least expectations of. Yeah, what's everybody's role in this?
Yeah, correct.
throughout the lifespan.
And to provide assurances, I know that there's been a lot of fundraisers, a lot of things have gone in out there. And then there have been issues and concerns with the maintenance.
From
Yeah,
our end,
But that we have not maintained
sure,
what was donated.
yes, I've heard, yeah.
So.
And I understand, I get it, yeah, you're right, it's definitely a two-way street, so. I think what I'm hearing is reach out and let's, invite them to the board meeting in June. Yeah,
Yeah, that'd be great.
okay. The storm protection fund, this was one thing I just mentioned, which I guess this doesn't, I shouldn't write anything about the management fund because we're paying our buy down over there anyways. Okay, so right now we buy down our wind and hail because
Since the derecho.
since the derecho rates have skyrocketed and we can buy it down to what, 1%. And our rough costs on that are 25, is it 25,000?
I bought it down to 50.
I'll bought it down to 50,000. So what's happened is, ISFIS, ISB, one of the groups, this flag has put together basically, a risk pool prevention group, kind of like they do with natural gas, where all schools can buy into this. So instead of going through EMC and buying down to 1%, we would pay into the storm protection fund. Okay, it's basically a risk pool. And the rates, what we've seen so far is it would be cheaper for us as a district to do this. Not substantially, but you know, it's a few $1,000s for us to take part in this rather than the buy down. I don't envision many schools sticking with the buy down through EMC based on the numbers that we've seen. This would be a 2080, just like the other ones were above. We could pay for it with management funds. It's going to be at this point in time, unless we find out something different, I would propose that we take part in this, but it will be on the agenda in June unless we find out something different.
There's a resolution that you have to.
Do they go through that as a risk pool, like reinsurance or something, or? I guess the only concern I'd have is everybody dumps it in and we have like another derecho where a third of the schools in the state
So they
have a
assured
problem and then all of a sudden
we
it's
can't get to our money.
right, it goes bankrupt. I mean, it's okay if you got 10 schools a year that have to use it, but if it's 150 or whatever, then it's bad
They
too.
assured us that it would stay liquid or
And I will,
Available, I
I
guess.
just received the slides from the last meeting. I will attach those to my Sunday report. So you can kind of pan through and see, what they're talking about with it and those exact type of situations.
But that's exactly what we were asking is, okay, we put our money in and then, you know, a natural disaster isn't gonna happen to just us, you know, and it's gonna happen.
Well,
to
it can, but recently there's been larger,
Right,
just like a
widespread.
single
Yeah.
district or 5 districts or
Right,
whatever,
right.
so.
And so we just want to be sure that we have access to it.
Legislatively, everything's been signed and done, so we settle at 2%. That's what we got for SSA. It's what we figured we would get. It just took a while to settle it.
Was there any at one time they were talking about kicking in some one-time,
Well, the one-time funding that,
or is that in the 2%?
no, it didn't go through.
Okay.
That was in the House version, the Senate said no. Now, there was again, an allocation for, support staff funding as well, the same $14 million allocation that was presented last year. That's gonna be included in this year's package again, just for your information, 14 million seems like a lot of money. We get about $10,000. So, it's spread out by population and those types of things. It did raise the maximum for operational sharing from 21 to 25, which is beneficial to us. We did not see the SRO move from 2 to 4 as was anticipated, unfortunately. That one was a little surprising with how quickly it moved through everything except for the Senate, and it just basically fell flat. It's not to say it won't be brought up again, because we certainly will advocate for it again. You know, it's a safety measure, and so hopefully that's brought up again next session. I will tell you that property tax reform is going to be the main topic in the next session. There's just no doubt about it. But I think that sometimes things maybe seem easier on the surface, and then once you dive into it, it's not that simple. And I think that's what they found out this time around. You know, and really it was more, they got more kickback honestly from city government than from schools on this thing. Because the city governments were the one that were really gonna be capped hard, and they came back and said, which essential services would you like us to get rid of? So I know that that's gonna be something that they continue to craft and refine, and it'll be interesting to see what proposals that they can come up with. I think we'll have a $900 million budget. Overspend the budget by 900 million is the projection this year. I still am, I'm not great at math. But when you overspend your budget by almost $1 billion and cut revenues, I just can't make that work completely. Not quite sure how that evens out. We'll see, I guess. So there's, at some point in time, there's gonna have to be, revenue has to come from somewhere. You can't continue to spend $1 billion above and not bring in any extra money, so we'll see what they come up with and go from there.
One thing, we were talking about legislative, thinking about this the other day, and we kind of we tried to meet with somebody, a representative
Yeah.
before the session. I almost wonder if it's good to do that before and after,
Yeah,
like, this time of year or a month, let them give a month off, I guess. Say you were gonna do this is what happened,
right.
and again, 4 months later, December, whatever, be like, okay, we're gonna do this again, right? Just to kind of. Yeah, we talked last month about having to advocate for schools, and I just think it's gonna have to get more and more because we've seen the last 4 years or whatever, 5 years, public schools are just getting hammered, so.
I think that it's a really smart idea to do that meeting, and I think that we should also have a monthly advocacy corner or something. You're doing a good job including stuff in your newsletter, but when we post on Facebook this month, here's who you should reach out to, here's what you need to reach out about. Get more voices included. I mean, if they listen to the people that they can have one-on-one conversations with, but it can't hurt to get more people educated and voicing their opinion.
Yeah, we heard at our public hearing about how to families budget, it's like, literally just this last week, the governor finally signed how much money,
Right.
After
and we've already budgeted. It's like, we're guessing.
we've certified,
Yeah.
we're 6 weeks past certification
So I think if
of how
people,
much we're gonna spend, but yet we don't know how much we're gonna get.
if people are, like I say, every month or something. When their public hearings coming in, we don't even know how much money we're, if they kind of do that stuff, it might be like, well, yeah, that doesn't seem right. Then they, just that extra support for schools. If the 2 community members reach out, it's something.
And we have some very prominent voices or voices in this community that are down there that have a lot of connections that we can get them in their ear as well in a respectful way.
I
Can't hurt.
it can't hurt. I feel like the PBMs like that they got passed. They were doing a grassroots campaign, and I really feel like that's what pushed them to approve it.
Well, and legislatively, obviously, it's gonna be an extremely pivotal year, because the next session is gonna head into a general election. The governor election being a part of that, and so. Yeah, I think the push that we make is gonna be extremely important. Personnel, from a personnel standpoint, I think we had maybe a few that were surprises, but we have a few positions that we'll approve resignations for tonight that we will post or have posted. I think a couple of them will post the third. So middle school social studies, secondary English, and then secondary PE. I attached the first exit survey data to a report a couple of weeks ago, and I will have an updated one now with these 3 on there as well. I will say, one thing I've noticed, and this has been good data for us to have, is, there's been some great information on there and feedback on things we can work on, but especially with the last 3 that we've seen have filled it out, is a lot of positive remarks about the district. And I feel like we've run into a spring and a year of just personal circumstances that have, and it happens, right? So I'll get that to you as well, but that's where we're at. We've got 3, a couple coaching positions will tie into those, but we have those posted, and we'll hopefully start some interview process in the next week or 2.
We'll take a motion to approve the 3 resignations. Second. Favor say aye.
Aye.
Nation's approved, and we have volunteer coaches.
A couple of volunteers there, Chad Worthington and Bryce Hubert for high school baseball.
Should we approve the volunteer coaches?
They got their certificate and everything. I'll make a motion to approve the two volunteer coaches positions.
Second.
Favor say aye.
Aye.
Coaches are approved. Go into exempt session.
I'll make a motion to go into exempt session.
Favor say aye.
Aye.
Exempt session is 7:09.
Which one in this fridge?